Hello and welcome to the first episode of Aviation Talk. This is episode 1. Today's topic of conversation is the Bombardier situation, including that would involve, the sale of the Dash 8 and all of the assets, including assembly line, and the possibility of the CRJ program being sold off a year down the road. I am joined by my good friend HuskyGaming365.
Hello, everyone.
Alright, so obviously, as you can see on the screen, it says Bombardier right now. Today's topic is the sale of the Dash 8 program and what that means for Bombardier and obviously the Dash 8. Husky, go. You can yap about this.
Well, let's put it this way. If the aviation costs, the cost of having to pay for supplies and having to pay for all of the equipment and the electronics, the rising fuel costs, the rising operation costs of all the airlines, it's getting tough out there. It really is. I'm not really surprised to see that Bombardier is sold off their Dash 8 program because it's hard. It really is. It's getting tough. It's not easy building and selling planes. It really isn't.
And obviously, there was a really good article in the Aviation Week and Space Technology magazine from the week of November 26th to December 9th. The article is on page 18 in that magazine for those who get it. Jens Flotta, hopefully I'm not saying, and Frankfurt and Graham Warwick in Washington wrote the article. Credit to them. Hopefully I did not butcher that first name. Obviously, and the big thing is that the Dash 8 program was sold off to someone who reinvested in the DC-6 Twin Otter program and ended up starting to rebuild the DC-6 Twin Otter, which we know is a very rugged ex-de Havilland Canada who obviously bought the rights to the Dash 8. Bombardier bought the rights to the Dash 8 from them when DHC went extinct.
Yeah, and don't get me wrong, the DHC-6 is actually a very good aircraft.
It's one of those airplanes, and it's turboprop like the Dash 8, among other airplanes out there. But it's one of those planes that is great for places like Alaska. Those places where it's mostly mountains. Yes, you have your cities like Anchorage and whatnot, but in Alaska, cities are far and few between. So these little commuter airplanes like the ERJ-190 and the Dash 8 and whatnot, those are great for Alaska because they don't need as much space.
No.
Okay, Anchorage gets cargo, so Anchorage has big runways. But the Twin Otter, great airplane for places like that.
Oh yeah, especially for like places you can really just build runways out of just nothing. The DHC-6 is very durable. It's rugged. It's a STOL plane. So
short
it's able
takeoff and landing.
Yeah, it's able to take off in super short runways. It's used practically everywhere around the world. You have the Netherlands Antilles, where you have Winair that's flying out of St. Martin into St. Bart's. They can fly in and out of that airport with no issues.
With Twin Otters, and they can put floats on them and land in the water if they need to.
Oh yeah. Very durable, very rugged plane.
So obviously, the future for the Dash 8 looks bright. We hope and wish the new company luck with it. It sucks that Bombardier doesn't own the rights to it. And I wonder how much of this stemmed off from the whole Boeing v Airbus on the CSeries.
You see, Boeing's actually having their own set of problems. because I know earlier in the year it was planned that Boeing and Embraer are going to try to team up together, but fortunately, what happened is that the Brazilian government has temporarily terminated any plans to merge Boeing and Embraer together,
And the
and it.
problem with Bombardier selling the rights off to these airplanes is that for the longest time, besides Embraer, they were the only two companies making these small regional jets. Boeing and Airbus tried with the A318, which I think Air France is the only airline that uses them. They're all first class. They're all high-end first class, and they fly like Paris to London or something like that. I think they fly Paris to JFK with those, but they're all first class.
And
And for
actually,
the longest time, and
Frontier had A318s for a while.
you know, Bombardier and Embraer, they they're in the commercial aviation world, they're the king of small regional airliners.
Oh yeah.
And
Oh yeah.
unfortunately, Boeing right now is in a place where that's a market they cannot compete in. It would take them 5 or 6 years to build a regional jet. And right now, their smallest jet is a 737, which, by the way, leads us to our next point. The fact that Delta, and I don't have any images, my apologies, the fact that when the whole Boeing Bombardier shenanigans came up over the CS-100, Delta told Boeing, we like your 737s, but it's too big for the routes that we're flying, that we want to fly them on. And they went with the CS-100. Boeing went to the government, and pardon me for saying this, but they went to the government bitching because Bombardier was using predatory pricing techniques, which means they were selling the CSeries for way less than what they were building it for. Boeing went to the government to try to get a tariff placed on it, and Airbus stepped in and was like, no, we're not going to let that happen. Airbus stepped in and said, hey, we've got a plant down in Alabama, Mobile to be exact, in Alabama. If you give us a majority rights to the airplane, those A220s, we'll build them for you. So that way, you guys don't have to deal with Boeing's bullshit and that import tariff, which would have really jacked the prices up. And Boeing got their heads stuck in their asses by trying to put an import tariff on the CS-100. And now Airbus has the full rights to the airplane. It's the A220, which they start flying with Delta, early next year?
Well, yeah, because of the fact that Airbus had bought the CS-100, they had renamed it the A220 and had given it the classic Airbus house color paint job.
And now, because the Brazilian government has pulled the plug on the alliance between Embraer and Boeing, Boeing's screwed right now.
They haven't pulled the plug yet. It's just that
they've halted that.
They've halted it, but however, there is reports that, however, the next leader who's going to be taking over or leading the British, or not the British, but the Brazilian government is actually for the
alliance.
He's for the partnering. It's just that I guess the current person I have now really wasn't feeling it, so that he was just, or here whoever they are, wasn't really in support of it. But however, there's gonna be some things changing once we get into the new year. And so I feel like once they have a new leadership down there, they're gonna be definitely, the new person is definitely gonna be supporting the partnership.
And why is Bombardier gonna sell off the CRJ series? That's a really popular airplane.
It really is.
Delta owns a bunch of them. Americans got a bunch of them. Air Canada uses them.
United, Air Canada, you've got
United uses them. Alaskan got some.
Binter Canaries has one. You've got Air France Hop. Everybody's airline.
Got a CRJ.
Lufthansa Regional even has one. Like,
the CRJ is a popular airplane. So why
really
is Bombardier thinking of selling off the rights to the airplane? That's going to put them out of business.
Yeah, at this point,
Bombardier is screwed if they sell off any more rights. I don't know if they build anything but airplanes.
Well, they do have I believe they build planes, but I know there's a Bombardier that makes
Trains? Yeah, but are they owned by the same people? That's the question.
I don't know. That is a good question for a good thought, though. That is a good thought. Because I know I've heard of Bombardier, and I've heard of Bombardier like trains or Bombardier rail. Because I know they had. I know there's a Bombardier rail division. I don't know. I'd have to.
Or it's like the CRJ, the Global 6 and whatnot. They're basically, I don't know, you could say they're a CRJ3, but they're private CRJs. You find those flying around every once in a while.
Oh yeah, the Challenger 300s and the Global Express.
They're great airplanes.
Oh yeah.
Well, I mean, I get them at my airport, and I know Husky gets them at his airport.
Oh yes. Oh yes.
And the CRJ is great because places like City Center in London and Billy Bishop City Center in Toronto, those are airports in the middle of cities where noise is an issue, and they have smaller. Well, actually, City Center in Toronto only gets prop, but City Center in London, CRJs are great because they can land there because of the noise restrictions. Whereas planes like a 7.3 can't land there because it's too loud.
Oh yeah, you see that.
The airport and airlines would get in trouble.
Oh, a lot of airports built in the middle of cities prefer airplanes with smaller, quieter engines, which is why a lot of these huge airports built in these small airports built in these big cities like the quiet engines or the small engines because they're quiet and they don't disturb people and people like to be able to get their sleep. I know I do.
And that allows the airport to be open late into the night.
Thanks to those quiet GECF34 engines, we can keep it running. You can keep an airport going all day, every day. No issues or complaints.
And on that, the next topic would be routes for the A220. Now that Delta owns them, my thought process is okay. They just bought the A220, and it's been confirmed by multiple sources out there that the A220, that American and Delta have plans to phase out their MD80 series of airplanes. And they've already started doing that. It's going to be a slow process. It'll be the end of 2019 before they're completely phased out. But my thought is, some of the routes that they're flying the MD80 on, they can put the A220 on because it's got the same capacity and it's hell of a lot more fuel efficient. It's not as loud as the MD80 is. And the MD80 is design itself is 45 years. I mean, it's a late 50s, early 60s design. So the fact that they've lasted this long is amazing. And actually, on the MD80, for those who have been living under a rock for the past 2 or 3 weeks, Allegiant has fully officially retired their MD80s.
I think to be honest, with the fact of how sketchy Allegiant's record is, I think it's a good thing they chose to retire their MD80s immediately.
the turbofans surrounding their MD80s is that they bought them secondhand from Iberian or something like that.
Well, and some came off of Iberian, some came off of SAS.
So Allegiance MD80s had to go. They were the second set of hands on those airplanes. And unfortunately, in today's world with noise restrictions and fuel economy and whatnot, the MD80 just isn't cutting it anymore.
No. Don't get me wrong. I know there's a lot of people out there who like the MD83.
Yes. Apologies to those who like the
like,
MD80, but
I like the MDs, and yes, I completely understand that. Yes, they're old. That's fine. A plane, yes, planes eventually will age, and
they're like a human. Their lifespan and their service span eventually come to an end. And unfortunately, most airlines have decided that, okay, I shouldn't say most airlines, but there are airlines out there that have decided, okay, we hate to do this, but it's time for us to retire our MD80s.
Yes.
Their life and their service span with us have unfortunately come to an end with the way the world is today with noise and fuel and whatnot. They just don't cut it anymore.
No. And with the simple fact of yes, I agree with the fact that yes, some MD83s are are reaching up to 30 or more years old. And yes, that is definitely time to get them out of commercial service, because eventually these things will get so old to the point where the human life will start to become a risk. And nobody wants to be held liable for human loss. No.
But something tells me that partially MD80 are starting to become a rarity. Because big question is, those that are out in Victorville, how many of them have parts that are still usable? That's the thing. Is I think A, they're old, and B, parts are starting to be harder to find.
Yes.
Because unfortunately, unless airlines pounce on the parts from those that end up in Victorville, eventually Victorville is just going to tear those planes to shreds. They're going to scrap those airplanes for metal and whatnot. So those airlines, especially those European airlines, that right now the MD80 is practically a viable airplane for them. And then, unless those airlines start to pounce on the parts off the Allegiant MD80s, there's not going to eventually parts of the MD80 are going to have to be homemade, or the MD80s in general aren't going to be an airplane anymore.
No,
that's just how it is.
To be honest, as I like the MD80s, but with Delta, Delta needs to definitely retire their MD80, because that is all Delta sends to my local airport. That is all Delta sends. Like every time if you look at the arrivals or the aircraft arrivals for Lambert, all you will see is MD88, MD90, MD88, MD90, MD88, 88, 90, 90, 90, 88,
now,
88.
Here in Columbus, we get the MD80s from places like Atlanta, but Atlanta's understandable. That's Delta's main hub. And they do the hub and spoke system where their main base is Atlanta, and they spread other hubs throughout the US and the world. Hub and spoke, as they call it. We get MD88s from places like Atlanta. Now, every once in a while, something happens, and they'll switch it to a 737. And actually, with American, that's starting to happen with their Dallas-Columbus route. Every once in a while, you can look it up and find it on a 737. But that's because the MD80s are starting to be phased out, and that's just how it is.
Even happened here in St. Louis. where 737 will fly here. Both 737 operated by American Airlines will fly into St. Louis. But normally it's an MD88. Hell yeah. It's noticeable too. It's extremely noticeable because normally a common route for like St. Louis to maybe Dallas or maybe to Charlotte is normally done in an MD83. But now you start to realize that, wait a second, there's a 737 doing this route. It used to be an MD80. Something's going on here. Yeah, and what's going on is American is saying these are getting old, and these are eventually going to start causing some major issues that could possibly risk the safety of our passengers
and crew.
Avoid that.
And the JT8s, okay, yeah, they're jets. They're good engines at that. But in today's world, you get airports that are, there's houses and whatnot around airports, and people don't like a lot of noise, and unfortunately, the JT8s are loud. There's no getting around that. They make a lot of noise.
Oh, yeah. They might sound pretty good on takeoff, but
they're really loud, and people don't like that at night when they're trying to sleep. So it makes sense
especially older people. It's definitely more common that older people normally don't like extreme amounts of.
So at this point, it makes sense for the MD80 to go. I can see maybe the 717s going. I don't know. Probably some of the older 717s will go.
Mm-hmm.
Now, there's no guarantees an A220 is going to fly every damn MD80 route that American and Delta has. They'll probably use the A220 on some of their.
It could happen.
Yes, there's a very good possibility of it, but we cannot guarantee that. Now, saying that, some of the older 717s that are probably getting retired, and it's just not well known. Those routes are good for the A220 because the A220 practically has the same capacity as the 717. 717 only carries what? 75, 80 people? And that's what the A220 holds right now? Particularly the smaller variant?
More than that. The A220 is classified as a regional aircraft. And it can only carry a certain amount of people.
Like the 717 can.
It doesn't MD88 or MD90 or 717 capacity. No, it's classified as a regional aircraft.
But eventually, and you MD80 lovers and whatnot, you're going to be sad, but eventually, the MD80 is not going to be around. So, if you like them, your best bet is to go, if next time you go airplane spotting, if you see one, take as many photos of it as you can, so you can have those memories of, especially if you're our age, you can tell your kids down the line, hey, when I was, when my parents were growing up, this airplane was top of the line, and when I got to be a young adult, this airplane retired. You can show your kids some of these airplanes. Say, hey, look, this was the thing when my mom and dad were growing up, this was top of the line, and it retired. You want to, there's certain airplanes that you want to keep photos of. I mean, look, you have old Mustangs and whatnot still flying.
Mm-hmm.
And that says something for an airplane that's what? Over, design-wise, is over 70 years old.
Mm-hmm.
But unfortunately,
MDs being over 30 years old, oh yeah.
Unfortunately, the MD80, no one's going to buy an MD80 just to take it to air shows. That's not how that works. I don't have anything else, do you?
Like I said, to a lot of MD80 fans, I know it's kind of hard. I know it's hard to take in. Believe you me, I know how it feels. But it's when it's time for it to go. Like it really is. When
It's
you really
been
think about
time for it to go. To the
the
fact that it's
MD80.
finally confirmed that they are retiring them.
Yeah, the MD80's has stuck around for years, and it's time for it. And there's far more efficient planes that are much quieter and burn way less fuel.
I mean, the 737, especially now the Max 8's coming out, and obviously Delta's probably not going to buy them. I know Americans got a few. Southwest has a shitload of them.
Oh,
Southwest has almost 30 Maxes.
I get it.
And the Max
That's
7's test flying. But you're gonna. The MD80 series family in general is gonna get replaced by the 737, the A320, A321. There's no getting around it. That's just how it is. Everything they all have, their time in the spotlight is unfortunately dim now. So those of you who love those airplanes, enjoy them while they last. If you get the chance to take photos of one and whatnot, do it because they're starting to become a rarity.
Mm-hmm.
Let's hope the CRJ program doesn't sell off. I would hate to see that happen. Obviously, we wish the new owners of the Dash 8 program luck. I want to see the Dash 8 continue to succeed.
Oh yes,
it's a great airplane, turboprop.
Not only is it
I've
great,
seen them. They're
sounds.
amazing airplanes. They sound amazing.
Oh yes.
It's honestly, it's one of my bucket list airplanes to fly on. I've been on the jumbos of the sky. I've been on a 7.4. I've been on a 380. And now I want to fly a Dash 8 in a Dreamliner.
That would be nice.
Those are my bucket list airplanes. I've been on an MD80. It wasn't my favorite, but I can tell my kids if I choose to go down that route, hey, an airplane that was new when my parents were growing up, I got to fly on one time. Alright, I'm CMH Spotter on Instagram. Go and follow me if you like aviation. That is HuskyGaming365. This is Mtouse48. We will see you next time.